2023 is coming to an end, but for me personally, the time of the new year has often felt more exhausting than exciting because I felt there was all of this intense pressure that you have to end the year on a good note and you have to have New Year's resolutions, you have to reflect on the entire last year, you have to be really clear on what you want next year. And so I would try to do all of those things thinking that I had to, but honestly now looking back, none of those resolutions or reflections that I would then create really did anything for me or created any changes in my life. Maybe I would feel excited for a while, but then latest by end of February, if not end of January, things would go back to how they used to be and I would forget about the resolutions that I had set for myself. And I'm very sure that I'm not the only person who feels like this because I did some research and came across a study where they found that 62% of the people they questioned said they feel pressured to set a New Year's resolution, but the average resolution lasted 3 to 4 months, meaning by the end of March, 87% of people were no longer sticking to their resolutions, which shows me clearly the way we are approaching New Year's resolutions is not working for most of us. And so today I wanted to share 3 mindset shifts that have really helped me navigate New Year's resolutions and the new year in a way that actually works for me, because now I feel very excited about the new year and I feel very confident that I will not be standing there end of January thinking, why has nothing changed? But also my approach is very different to how it used to be. For example, I no longer set New Year's resolutions. And so that's what I wanted to share today. But as always, before we get into it, if you enjoy my content, feel free to support it in some way, such as liking, commenting, subscribing, or leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And yeah, thank you so much. And now let's get right into today's conversation. Chapter 1, Why Even Bother? For a couple of years, once I realized that my New Year's resolutions were really not getting me anywhere, at some point I just kind of gave up on them entirely because I was like, you know what? The new year is literally a day like any other. If nobody would tell me that it's the new year, I wouldn't even notice. And so why jump on this trend that doesn't even really make sense and is clearly not getting anyone anywhere? But now I think, no, you know what? The new year is a really powerful time that I think can create a lot of shifts and a lot of change in our lives. I just had to change my mindset and my approach, which was the problem. If you think about it, so much of life is about using things or events as an excuse to do something. Doesn't really matter if it makes sense or not. And so, for example, if you wouldn't tell me that it's my birthday that year, I wouldn't even notice. But every year, knowing that it's my birthday, I use that day as an opportunity or as an excuse to celebrate myself and have a good time. And every year, that creates more positivity in my life than if I wouldn't know that it's my birthday. And honestly, without even doing anything, life will give you enough opportunities and excuses to be sad or lonely or lazy or whatever it is. And so I think every excuse or opportunity we have to create positivity and change and movement forward in our lives, we might as well use that. We just have to be aware of the fact that that's what we're doing so that we are not fooling ourselves. And so step 1 for me was to say, you know what? The new year is a time where so many people are feeling more hopeful and excited about this idea of a new start and a new beginning and having conversations about all of this. And so why not tap into that energy and use this time as an opportunity to reflect and get clear and create changes in my life, but to know that I'm doing those things because I want to do those things anyways, not because it's a new year. I am just using this time of the new year as a motivation or as a tool to get those things going. I think this mindset already helps to take away this pressure of like, oh my God, this is the time. And if I don't manage everything before the new year, I'm never going to manage anything. To just be like, you know what? I have all the time in the world, but I want to use this time. And so what happens when I rephrase that question in that way? What do I create from there? Chapter 2, a day like any other. I think what it really comes down to is being fully aware that the fact that we are entering a new year is not what will create change in your life. Like the 1st of January will not necessarily feel different to the 31st of December just because we are entering a new year. And even though sometimes we would love for that to be the magical moment where things just turn around, that's not how life works. It really is just a day like any other. And that's why then often we sit there mid of January or end of January thinking, why don't I feel as different as I thought I would? Which also means the New Year's resolutions that you set for yourself now will not necessarily be any different to the goals that you set in the middle of the year and never manage and never stick to. But that doesn't mean that things can't change, because if you want, you can make it different. If you want, you can use this as an opportunity for things to finally be different. But that really has nothing to do with the new year and everything to do with you and how you use this time and how you go about this. So let's say, as an example, in the past, I would think, okay, I have to have a New Year's resolution because everyone has a New Year's resolution. And so let me pick exercise because I want to exercise more. And so that means now in December, I can just chill and do nothing. But then when the 1st of January starts, I'm going to finally exercise. I'm going to go all in because I have this New Year's resolution. And then by mid of January or end of January, my motivation and my excitement of the new year has died down because I realize I don't feel as different than I thought I would. And so I forget about the resolution and we go back to how things used to be and nothing really changed. Now I would say, okay, what's something that I've wanted to change for a really long time? I want to exercise more. That is something that I've wanted to shift for a long time. And so let me use this time of the new year and this motivation that I feel as an opportunity and as an excuse to finally get things going. Meaning, if I can start today and it's mid of December right now, I start today. And if for whatever reason I don't manage to start until the mid of January, that is not a reason to scrap my goal entirely, because my desire to get this going is not dependent on the new year, which will fail me. With that approach, I have a much, much higher likelihood of actually pulling things through and not sitting there mid of January thinking, why has nothing changed and why don't I feel different? Because I'm not tricking my brain into thinking that just because I feel a short-term excitement right now and just because my goal starts on the 1st of January, it will somehow be easier to achieve, because that's not how life works. There is no cheat code that makes it easier for us to achieve our dreams or our goals. And the new year is also not such a cheat code. But at the same time, the idea of the new year and a new start resonates with me. So why don't I use this opportunity to feel motivated? That's always a good thing. But I'm not dependent on that, meaning the second my excitement about the new year dies down, which will happen eventually, my goals or my desires or my motivation doesn't die with it. Chapter 3, a goal worth chasing. For me personally, what has really worked is to just not make New Year's resolutions. I have just scrapped them from my approach entirely. It's just what works for me personally, because I feel that way I also remind myself that the power to create change in my life is something that is within me and it is not dependent on the time of the year. Meaning, if I want to create change in my life, I can. Doesn't matter if it's July next year or right now. But at the same time, I do really resonate with the idea of the new year and this new start. And so I like to use this time as an opportunity to reflect and especially to set new goals for myself. But I've also realized for myself, a goal is only worth chasing, and it only really makes sense to create a new goal for yourself, especially during this time, if that goal ticks 2 boxes. Number one, the goal has to have a starting point and a finish line, meaning I have to decide when am I going to start committing to this goal and when does that time frame end, because deciding when it's going to start is already going to avoid this whole mindset of like, oh, I'll start tomorrow, and then tomorrow never comes. But also I've realized a goal becomes very demotivating very fast if you don't have a finish line that you are looking forward to and trying to get to. It's like when you watch a race, like the thing that is really exciting and motivating about watching a race is that you know that there is a finish line and you know that someone needs to get somewhere. That's why we feel excited to watch and we feel motivated. If there wouldn't be a finish line, we would feel demotivated and bored very fast and nobody would want to watch that race. And so, for example, I would tell myself, okay, I want to start journaling every second day as an example. And so I'm going to start next Friday and that time frame ends 2 months after that. And so for 2 months, I'm going to pull this through and even better, try to create a finish line that feels exciting. So for example, once I manage these 2 months, I'm going to take myself out on a date, or I'm going to buy myself this thing that I've been wanting for a long time, or whatever it is, just something that motivates you to get to that finish line, even if it's something small. That is going to be so much easier to manage than saying, oh, I would really like to start journaling soon. And so I'm going to start next year and I hope I pull it through. Like that's probably not going to happen. Number two, it has to be achievable. I think another very important reason why so often our New Year's resolutions fail is because we just overdo it. Like I'll sit there end of December and I'll be like, oh my God, all of these things that I wanted to do last year and I didn't manage any of it. And so now I need to manage all of it next year. That means every day I need to wake up at 6 a.m. and then I need to go to the gym and then I need to work and then I need to cook and then I need to meet my friends and then I need to do my creative project and then I need to go to a charity, and it's just impossible. And so I think especially around this time, it's really important that we don't self-sabotage in this way and don't set ourselves up to try and achieve things that are just not achievable. The last year was what it was. And even if we didn't manage everything that we wanted, that's totally fine and totally okay, because with this one, it's kind of like, imagine you are running a really long marathon. You have to run for a really long time to get to your destination. And then suddenly you start feeling stressed that you're not there as fast as you want to be. And then you start running and you start sprinting. And then you get so exhausted by all of that that you just end up giving up, and then you never end up getting to your destination. It's kind of the same mindset. The person that will end up getting to the destination is the one that is slow and consistent and in their own pace, and that's how you actually get there. So especially during this time, I try to be very conscious about going for things that are achievable, meaning push myself and get out of my comfort zone, because all magic happens outside of the comfort zone. But don't go for things that are just clearly unachievable anyways, because I think that way it's a very clear road to sitting there then mid of January and thinking, why has nothing changed? And that is just not worth it. All right, everyone, that is all I wanted to share for today. Thank you so much. And I'm so looking forward to connecting with you in my next episode.